2019 in the UK was a year of highs and lows, not least for the royal family. There was a new addition to the British monarchy, baby Archie, the first son of the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, Meghan and Harry.
It's magic. It's pretty amazing, and I have the two best guys in the world, so I'm really happy.
Prince Andrew became embroiled in a scandal over his friendship with convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. And the Queen welcomed US President Donald Trump on a controversial state visit, which led to mass protests. And they weren't the only demonstrations to take place in Britain this year. In April and again in October, climate change activists brought London to a standstill. Thousands were arrested as part of plans by the global environment movement Extinction Rebellion.
The government has known for 30 years it needs to act. It's failed to do so, so now we're declaring a rebellion.
And the country mourned following yet another fatal terror attack on London Bridge.
We come together this morning in condolences, but also in a spirit of defiance, to say that London will never be cowed or intimidated by terrorism.
But one issue once again dominated Britain in 2019.
From the streets to the seats of the House of Commons, the country was once again conflicted over and consumed by Brexit. It caused the first winter general election in almost a century, an unprecedented court battle against the government, and back in May, cost another Prime Minister their job.
3 years on from the referendum, delivering on the result proved too formidable a challenge for Theresa May. After missing 2 Brexit deadlines and failing 3 times to get her withdrawal agreement through Parliament.
That once again we have been unable to support leaving the European Union in an orderly fashion.
She resigned, sparking a Conservative leadership contest.
The second female Prime Minister, but certainly not the last. I do so with no ill will, but with enormous and enduring gratitude to have had the opportunity to serve the country I love.
Yet her successor, Boris Johnson, soon found himself facing the same stalemate at Westminster. After being forced by MPs to request another extension to the deadline, Boris Johnson renegotiated a deal with the EU.
Of course, for us in the UK, it means that we can deliver a real Brexit that achieves our objectives.
But after the deal once again failed to break the gridlock in Parliament, Boris Johnson drove the country into its first winter general election in almost a century.
Politics in the last couple of years has been a shambles. I don't think the politicians have really represented their constituencies very effectively.
In all honesty, I think it's just a bit of a mess at the moment.
The issue has boiled down to Brexit, and we have to stop this disaster.
In the end, Britain handed the Conservative Party and Boris Johnson their biggest majority since the 1980s, and so a mandate to get Brexit done by the current deadline, January 31st.
This election means that getting Brexit done is now the irrefutable, irresistible, unarguable decision of the British people. And with this election, I think we've put an end to all those miserable threats of a second referendum.
Yet experts argue the cloud of uncertainty over Brexit isn't likely to disappear anytime soon.
So we might have a paradox next year that Brexit is done. Formally, we're no longer a member state of the European Union, but Brexit uncertainty is as bad as ever, both running up to that deadline for extending transition in June and then running up to a possible cliff edge WTO Brexit in December. So for businesses, another rocky year ahead, I'm afraid.
The Prime Minister also faces another challenge as he heads into 2020, avoiding a potential breakup of the United Kingdom. Calls for a referendum on the unification of Ireland and a second referendum on independence in Scotland are growing louder after the December election results returned an increase in seats for nationalist parties in both countries. So as he steps into Downing Street once again, Boris Johnson will have to tread carefully to avoid waving goodbye to the UK as we know it. Holly Hudson, SABC News, London.